All right, guys, Jason, we're back here for our next podcast. On set now, we have Jared. First things first, mate, we're going to crack one of these cans.
Oh, I got some splash.
Whoa,
Yeah,
cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
There you go. Well, people know that I'm definitely drinking different ones because I'm like on and off black and white every single time, so it's all on. Now, again, I'm not going to do this again like I did the last 2 or 3 years where I keep butchering people's intros, but who better to introduce themselves than literally themselves? So go for it, Jared.
My name's Jared, and I'm a Capricorn. I enjoy long walks on the beach. I have 2 cats, 3, and I've been in the industry since 2006, and right now I'm doing off-road stuff. So currently I'm at Vision X, just started here actually 4 weeks ago. So subject matter expert for off-road, which basically means that when it comes to off-road, it's my circus, my monkeys, and we're really excited to kind of revitalize this brand and get out here with the lighting in the U.S. market and beyond.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So you said you have 3 cats now?
3.
What happened? Wait, hang on. Hold up. Wait, you got 3 now? What happened? I thought you only had 2. Didn't you have a dog at one stage too?
No, so...
Or was that the neighbor's dog?
So I love dogs.
Yes.
But I can't have dogs, so I travel too much. This is a sore spot for me. So like I'm always like I gotta have a cat because I can travel so much. That way I can just like put extra cat litter and food out there and walk away and have to deal with it. So I had a cat when my wife and I like first got together and moved in, and my stepson loved him and everything, and then he ended up like passing away. He was old, So we had like a little bit of time. We did that thing. We're like, all right, we gotta go get another cat, and like if we're gonna do it, we're gonna get him a buddy. And went to the animal shelter, picked 2 up, and everything was great. And then after like 4 months or something, the one cat's like started to get a problem where like if he like eats normal hard food, like he gets like crystals build up inside, and like basically his bladder will explode and he'll die.
Oh boy.
So luckily that didn't happen, but now he has to be on like medicated special food. So now like the whole concept of having a cat that like I just leave food, it's gone. Now I can't go anywhere. It's like just like having kids. It's like $400 a month in medicated food. And it's just not cool. But he's nice. I guess it's okay. He didn't die.
And his name is?
Armand.
Armand.
Yeah. So then...
It sounds like Armand deserves a really good feed.
Yeah, he's a good boy. He doesn't like me, apparently, even though I saved him and he cost me a lot of money, but he pretty much hangs out with my son. That's his cat now. But and then the guy that details all my cars, he's my neighbor. He messages me one day and he's like, hey, I was washing this car, and in the engine compartment there was this kitten.
Oh, boy.
And I guess like the mom was like feral or whatever, and all the other kittens are gone. She's the last one. He's like, I can't keep her because I'm allergic to cats. Can you take her? And I was like, yeah, I guess I'll like foster her and like try and find her a home. And then like after like a week, my wife's like, yeah, we're not getting rid of her. And I'm like, great, because that's the last thing I needed was another cat that I have to give medicated food.
Yeah, because so literally now you're working for like 17 family members.
I'm just working to feed cats.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So this cat, again, it's because I know, like I said, I thought it was just 2, but now, so this is
3.
how deep are we now? What is it, a year old? How old is this 3rd cat now?
I think she's like a year and a half or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Do you declaw them? Question, because I know.
No, that's inhumane. You got to cut their fingernails off.
The reason
like
why,
the whole tips.
I know. The reason why I asked that is because it's illegal in Australia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I know that some people in America there's a thing where you declaw them, right?
Yeah.
And I won't say who I know in the automotive industry who's declawed their cat. I don't want to throw her or him, of course, if it was a male, but her under the bus. But
or they.
Yeah. So there you go. So okay. Anyway, so again, hey, you know what, Jared? We met, I don't know, over 10 years ago. You were one of the, early guys who was welcoming this, random Australian to the SEMA, culture and family with open arms. You literally said, hey man, here's my phone number. If you ever need anything, just call me. And just said, see you later. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Was he serious or whatever? And then I realized every time I'd call you, it was an unlimited amount of attention. I will never forget one day I was in Italy and I had a problem, and I will never forget. I sat there and I'm like, who do I call? I called you, and again, you just helped me relentlessly. And still to this very day, literally we spoke for 2 hours on the way to Pebble Beach, and you were still solving my problems. And I thank you for that.
Oh, no worries.
I don't want to have a whole podcast about how many times you've helped me in the last 10 years, which we could probably do for a long time. But I just want to thank you for that, first of all. Second of all, is I'd love for you to share just what the last 10 years has looked like. You've had an illustrious, awesome, time at MagnaFlow. You had a great time at, with the last Von Gitten deal. Now at Vision X. Like, you have really had such a beautiful, exposure and a real fun and vibrant time in your career right now. You know what I mean? And yeah, even now, Vision X. Me and Eric were talking about it. What an epic location to go again, to really just dig your teeth in and go again. So please, let's go through that time.
Yeah. So I think we go back even a little bit farther to 2012, 2013, that time. I was working over at Shelby Distribution, Superformance.
That's right.
Yeah, and I was there for a little bit and working for Lance. And he was a great boss to me and kind of helped me when I was transitioning. And then at that point, I went to work for Red Ranger USA, and we started White Line USA,
right,
so another Australian company. And it was kind of about that time when I started to get into SEMA. It was actually when I was at Hillbank. I remember specifically, I walked into Justin, who was our sales manager. I walked over his desk, and he had signed up for the Young Executives Network, which is now FLN, and he had an invite to the mixer. And that was my first exposure. I was like, what's this? And he's like, oh yeah, it's just this thing. And they try and make me go every year. And I was like, we should go to that. That's cool. And so that was kind of the first time I went in there, and I met Brian Harrison, who was the
That's right.
The Councils and Networks manager for Yen at the time. And I started to get really involved in it. And going to SEMA, and kind of that year was my first exposure into the networking events. And it's real interesting because I think it's polarizing when people come to this, or you try and get them involved. And I think there's some people that just feel like oh man, this is such a waste of time, or it's like a burden or something. And then the flip side of that is you end up meeting a lot of people that become, for me, my lifelong friends.
Yeah.
That was the first year or two that around that time where they were doing the programs the Power, Yen Power Tour.
Yes.
The first times they were doing Launchpad, and I met Johnny Mill, and Johnny
Yes.
Mill and I traveled across the country together, and we ended up doing it twice.
That's
And
crazy.
guys like Ian Lang, Kristen Backus, all these people that I've now had 15-year-ish friendships with that I met through this program. And I think that you start to learn that it is what you put into it, and what I learned going into it was I just showed up and tried to meet people, and when I could help them or connect them, don't expect anything in return to you. It's building karma, and that's why anyone in this industry, anytime they've ever needed help, it doesn't matter who they are, I've tried to help them, I probably could have made my salary 15 times over if I tried to cut a commission out of half the deals I set up. But I'm always the first person to throw out a hand and say hey, I know a guy, I can connect you, I can do these things, I can hook you up with this person, or I can give you a hand and give you some information. And I think all that stuff, it just builds good karma, and professionally, people remember you and the things you've done for them without ever asking for anything, and it comes back to you. It's what you put into it.
100%. So I don't know how connected you are now, but you got the FLN, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, for anyone new that's out there, it is polarizing, right? So again, I was a guy from Australia, just turned up and walked into a room of strangers. But every now and then, you'll find, the person who's leading that deal, and you'll go in and look, they'll make you feel welcome, and they'll start showing you the ropes. I was just very lucky to have Jared at the time, who was really helpful at that time. So FLN right now, is it?
Yep.
Future Leaders Network?
Future Leaders Network, yeah. So before it was Young Executives Network. It's for anyone that's part of a SEMA company. It's a network, not a council, so that means that as an individual you join it, and it's open to all members under the age of 40. So this is my last year. As of next month, I'm tapping out.
Oh.
Yeah. I had a good time. I was 2015 SEMA Young Executive of the Year. think the next year in 2016, I was 35 under 35 there. I helped, really set up. I actually was the person who helped set up the actual procedure and SOP for networking at SEMA, right? Because before that, it was kind of loose, and we didn't really have anything.
Yeah.
We didn't have like a lot of networking events, and when I was helping to organize that with guys like Jim Lau, we had like SEMA Young networking events, like every Formula Drift event. We had them, outside of SEMA, we had them at a bunch of major events, and it was really key in kind of helping create a network for people and introducing young people in this industry, And I have some really great examples of where that's helped people. Like, I was in New Jersey for Formula Drift. I had a customer that I'd serviced out there for a long time, and I invited him to come to the event, and invited his young guys out there to come and do the networking event. And I met my buddy Nick, who was working there at JDM Engineering, and he's like, man, and I just did what I did. Took him to dinner that night because I was just like, that's cool, let's hang out. I don't know, let's meet, let's talk, and you come to the thing, we'll hang out. And he's like, yeah, actually, I want to move to California. My girlfriend, or fiance, I think at the time, maybe even, she's like, she got a job out there, so I'm trying to find a job out there. And it's funny because of who was here first. I was like, my buddy Rob Simons works at Edelbrock,
yes.
And I think that you would probably be perfect there. And I connected them together, and he got a job and was able to move across country. And now he lives like 5 miles away from me. He's been like one of my best friends ever since, And it's just like, like the happenstance of just like, hey, I know that guy, you can hang out, we do stuff, and now he's at Whipple, and
it's insane.
Yeah, and there's just like these little things like that. It's like a butterfly effect, right? Of like these little things of like, if you just show up and say hi and meet someone, and like take a little time to like care about them without any expectation where you're getting back, like not just for you, but it can make a real difference in their life too, right? And you don't know unless you put yourself out there,
100%. And like you said, you get out what you put in, and away you go. So when you got SEMA 35 under 35, 2016, right?
I think so.
15 or 16.
I think that was it. Because I think I got Young Executive of the Year in 15, and then after that I got 35 under 35, and that would have been like in the summer the next year.
That's epic. So where were you at the time when you received it with
MagnaFlow?
MagnaFlow.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Do you remember what the grounds were? What you were doing at the time? Because I'd love for you to share a bit of that time at MagnaFlow, because MagnaFlow is a pretty vibrant company, always doing some cool stuff. You know what I mean? I'd love for you to share some of those experiences.
Yeah, at the time we had a really great team. The sales team there was exceptional. It's crazy. We had Darren Shubin was the sales director. I was basically running the bulk majority of the performance accounts. Robert Wittizak, and Darren was Young Executive of the Year. I think it was 2013 or something. Robert Wittizak was Young Executive of the Year. Like maybe he was 2013. We had like 3 other Young Executives of the Year on our team. And then Tiffany Doran. Giancarlo Gladish, Javier Padilla, Grant Lago, like we had a whole team of people there, a sales team that was like really great. But at the time when I started there, I was a single guy, and I had the ability to kind of be like, hey, I'll raise my hand and I'm going to go to all these shows. I'll take over a bunch of the travel responsibility, and it was really cool because I got to travel the country and see a bunch of stuff. Got to participate in Power Tour, 3 times. I think twice with MagnaFlow, once with Jan. It was really the first opportunity for me to go out and put myself out there and travel and work and see a multitude of different customers across the country and get some work done. So, I think at the time, my time being there, they were really good about fostering professional development, and they were really big on fostering involvement in SEMA councils and networks. So we were always at the MPMC trade conference. We obviously everything at SEMA. We were always at all the council and networking mixers, and just really anywhere that we could volunteer for things, whether it was SEMA Cares. I did helped with the Pinewood Derby for quite a few years. Anything that I was able to do and raise my hand with, they supported. So it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, and like you said, I think what's key is I was reading an Outliers book, and it's just unfortunately people have a period of that time where you don't have, well, let's not talk about money, but you don't have a massive financial obligation. You don't have a mortgage. You don't have a wife, children, and they talk about that window between 18 and 25 where it built Bill Gates, it built Steve Jobs. Like, it was this period where that you could, you have the ability. And so to your point, you're out on the road having a good time. It's a tough time. But you're also having a good time and really just kind of pounding the pavement and making magic happen.
Yeah.
And you did that for a long time. And you still do, right?
Still do.
I'm always seeing you, taking a photo in first class, next to a window on the flight somewhere.
Yeah. The biggest thing you can say, like, for people that are young in this industry is, like, decide whether this is a job or a career.
Sure.
I think that, like, I always say, it's like, we're not in it for the money. If most of us could probably do something to make more money. We're in it because we love the industry. Yeah. But if it's something that you love and it's a career, and it's a difference between a job and a career, right? Yes. And if it's your career, get out there, get involved, meet some people, and show some passion for it. And when you're younger, don't fall into the trap of working somewhere where you don't have someone to teach you anything. That's the biggest thing I tell everyone. It's like, if you're at some place and you're not learning anything, go somewhere else. Go somewhere else in the industry where someone is going to teach you, where you can have a boss or someone there that's going to mentor you to have some skills. Because I've seen plenty of people that get to, my age or older, and you can tell they've been somewhere so long and no one's taught them anything. They've learned things from doing it wrong, and you can get way more ahead in your life and your career by having people that help you. Raise your hand, and that's also part of, being part of, councils and networks and things. Is if you don't have that where you work, but you can get that by finding people in this industry that will mentor you and help you. It's gonna get you farther, farther than you can if you just try and wing it.
Yeah, definitely will shape, a much better future for sure.
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, I mean, you've been connected to so many influential people. Speaking of which, is there any standout people that you can kind of shout out to say, like, I really thank this, or I thank that for different opportunities or whatnot? I mean, I hate to imagine how long that list of people would be, but, or even if you don't want to name any names, I'm just throwing it out there, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that there's some of, like, those people that may be, outside the big names list. People that I learned from, like Evan Meekum from Evan Meekum Associates. He was like, he's retired now, but he was probably the most influential rep that I ever met, outside rep. He was great, and his outlook on things made me change. I think most people who know Evan Meekum, ever worked with him, knew, like, man, he looked at things way differently in his approach. But I think it was interesting because he was definitely in the near retirement stage when I started working with him, and working together with him, it was different because, like, how it is in this area. A lot of these guys that have been around forever, they just look at you at, even at like 30 years old, of like, I've been around way longer, I know everything. But Evan was like, I know a lot of things about how relationships are or have been done that I can teach you, but you know the new stuff and you can teach me.
Yes.
And I think that's one of those things that, even as, like, now we're kind of transitioning to being like the veterans in this industry, it took us long enough, but remembering too that you can learn from the younger generation. There's always things that you can learn. It's a two-way street, right?
Well, I learned on this podcast there's a TikTok shop's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a massive thing.
Anyway. Yeah. I don't know if it's that way for our industry yet and what we're dealing. I don't know if we're selling cylinder heads or superchargers through it. But
I get it, but it's definitely a thing.
We don't know it is. It's, if it will be, right?
But I know they're going to buy an awesome $5 yellow dress from there.
Right?
Just in case.
100%. I mean, it's big. That kind of... I think we've seen that in general across the board in the past 10 years of how consumer shopping has changed, right? Past COVID even. COVID changed it, took it up, down, and shook it, how people buy things. You just don't know unless you're open-minded to learn. And those people especially you see, when you're through learning, you're through.
Yes.
If you can't accept the way that the market changes, you'll never grow your business.
I love that, actually. But I love that. We're gonna typically, someone has to close out with a one-liner. You're gonna close out with that one.
All right.
When you're done, when you're through learning, you're through.
When you're through learning, you're through.
Oh, that's gonna be the one-liner.
I can drop a couple other ones in there. You can write it down.
Yeah,
right?
please, that'd be nice. Okay. Well, we can leave that one in there, and you can get some more. So I guess, again, awesome time. You did a lot of great things with Von Gitten Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if you want to touch on that. But
yeah, I mean, Von and I have never worked with them, never directly worked for him, but, when I was at White Line USA, and he was kind of just starting, a couple years in the infancy of RTR, I brought in White Line USA and that was like really the first time. It was probably around, I think it was 2012, 2013. I started a professional relationship with them. We were supplying product to them, and so like all of the RTR Mustangs came with white line sway bars at that point. Then we had optional options for our Watts link that we had designed here. So we started having a good business relationship, and he was always really cool. And then when I left there and went to MagnaFlow, he was an ambassador there. Yeah. So it's just kind of like, all right, cool, we're working together again. And he's obviously always at our SEMA dinner, and I'd always sit at the table with Vaughn and his wife, and go to Formula Drift and hang out with him and the team. And it's actually like one of those things that's funny is like he hired a guy that I used to work with at Saline, who's still there, Jess Albright. And Jess and I were good friends, and it was just like, that thing that still happens where like I still go and find myself in companies where like I've worked with these people before. Like actually right now in Australia, on the Australian side of our business, our head of marketing, Andy Nolan, worked with me at Whiteline. So when I started there was just like, all these guys, and everyone's like, how do you know that guy? I know everybody, but but I worked with that guy for years, so. But anyways, so then when I left MagnaFlow and I came over to Horizon Brands, to work with Type S and start Project X, it was just kind of that quick evolution of like, all right, well, getting the crew back together, let's call Vaughn and the team up, and I called his manager Clayton and started talking to him and brought him on board there, and again became a big part of the business there, and obviously big part of our business with Project X. So, I think people work with the people they want to work with, and you find like partners that are so good, you want to bring them in and do the same things you can and continue your success. And, I think that's the other part of like having relationships, right? Like if it's a career and not just a job, like you find other people that think like-minded, and you find a way to keep working together wherever you go, so.
And to your point, sometimes you find any excuse, right, to keep working together. So I guess this is an exciting new role.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but you're going to be dealing with a lot more Australians. I'm a little bit torn that I might
not be my favorite Australian anymore.
I'm a bit worried about that. You'll be like, oh no, I like this other Australian now, so I'm a bit worried, man. So you better be careful. Don't get too close to the Aussies. You know what I mean? You got to make sure you have a soft spot for this one in your heart. But walk me through it. So, there's what does the next 3 to 6, 12 months look like? Is there any problems you're trying to solve? Is there any are you trying to solve a problem? Are you trying to create a problem? In the sense of new.
I'm always trying to create problems.
That's fair. So that's good, and so you should be. So talk us through it.
Yeah. So I mean, Vision X is a great company. Been around since 1997. And it's really interesting because I think that when you talk to somebody that's in this industry, it's familiar with the brand, they only have really good things to say, right? And it's like, man, you guys were one of the original innovators that were out there, and you did all these things early on, and then you just kind of went away, or we don't know what you've really been doing. And like, like some of the original background of that is, we started off doing HID kits, because the company started doing just like 12 volt kind of car electric audio stuff, and then they partnered with a manufacturer, and we started doing just normal HID bulb replacements. And as that became like a commodity that everybody had, one of the partners of the business was like, hey, I think we can, if we focus this on off-road and we put it into a housing with the ballast and everything inside, I think we'd kill it. And so we went back to the factory and we're like, hey, can you build this? And they were like, well, we've never tried. I don't see any reason why we couldn't. And so we built the first off-road HID with an internal ballast. It was just power and ground out. Wow. It's ready to go, right? And then, we did that for a while, and then that kind of became more of an industry standard. And at that point, LED started becoming a thing. And this is like before Rigid was even a company. Yeah. We sold the first LED light bar. But the team there at the time really started to look to the north, while everyone, these lighting guys, are looking to the south. Like, we're gonna develop in Baja. We're gonna go do racing. We did some of that stuff, and we still do, and we always have. But the focus of the company shifted to developing product for mining and industrial
Wow.
in the most harsh and violent environments on Earth. So, you know, in Alaska, northern Canada, in the mines, ice road truckers, you know, deadliest catch fishing boats, stuff where no one else's product would survive. That's where we went. So
that is epic.
Now at this stage, Vision X has, you know, a couple of key market segments. So we have that heavy duty, you know, mining, industrial kind of stuff, fleet, rotating amber, flashing amber, you know, that kind of stuff. We actually have a division that services fire and emergency, like ambulances and stuff, and we're going to be expanding into red and blue. We have a motorcycle division that does really, really well, and then we have the off-road division, and we had kind of like this passive business that was going through there, and we have a good amount of business that we're doing, you know, OES through guys like Fox Factory, and we really specialize in doing like these bespoke programs. Or if you need a light, you tell us, we'll build that for you. But we've never really focused heavily on like, this is our product line, these are our lights, and we're going to sell that, and we're going to push that through the retailers and distributors and be out there. And we've just toe dipped for too long. So now we are focusing with me being there to let's go out and get that market back and let's tell a story. So I think we have a compelling story and no one's really told it. And you know, we're really friendly with all the other lighting guys in this market, because the market, you know, is enough for everybody. But you know, to me, a good success story in the lighting industry is really looking at like KC Highlights, and you know, their rebrand and relaunch in the past 10 years. I think they did a phenomenal job at that. And so for us, I think, like, you know what, there's no reason why we can't go out and have a brand that we have a really compelling story and history that we've never done a good job telling anybody about. But we also have a product that is unique, that we have a greater story moving forward, and high technology and things that differentiate us in the marketplace, that I think that will make us, you know, a brand that has something big to offer everybody. So
100%. So do some of those products already exist, or you want to go on?
We just released or unveiled here at SEMA basically three new lines of lights. So basically our two flagship lines, the CR Pro series, which are a dual function light, which are really cool, and those will be out first quarter. And that's basically a series of rounds. So there's two basics. We have a round series of CR Pros, CR and CR Pro. And then we have the Dura series, which are Dura Pro, which are square. So we basically have those two lines that are going to be out that cover pretty much the bulk majority of what people want right now.
And that will fit a Rubicon?
Fit anything.
Okay, you got some spare ones here we can give to Eric while you're here. Just want to get on camera if that's okay.
Sure.
You sure? Yeah, no worries.
Whatever.
No, I'm just kidding.
But you know, like the expansion of Vision X, you know, the big part of that story is, you know, Tony, Nick, and Joe and the guys there, you know, did a real good job building that company over the last 30 years.
Amazing.
You know,
amazing.
3.5 years ago, they entered agreement to, you know, have the company acquired by Brown & Watson International, who are, you know, obviously you're from Australia, you know who those guys are. You can't walk into a GPC without seeing 3 rows of their product. They're massive.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. And they're owned, you know, BWI is owned by Amotive, who is a massive conglomerate. And the thing is even, I think the fear is for a lot of people when you get acquired, or you get acquired by like a publicly traded company, that you lose, you know, you kind of get in this like soulless overlords kind of situation. But this business, the business really like is run like a family business. Yeah. You know, like the executive leadership of Brown & Watson was here at SEMA with us, and so was the board of Amotive. And they're very interested in the business. They know all of our names. They know who we are. Like, I was a customer of them for 6 years, and they're just like, Jared, you know, so good to have you here, you know, great, and like really happy, and you know, it's different. It's more like a family. But that acquisition has allowed Vision X now from going like, okay, we have a small dedicated team of like really great engineers here, to now we have 50 engineers globally. You know, we have our manufacturing that we own. We have more manufacturing we own. We have, you know, the Vision X brand. Now we have access to the lights that we have in Narva that we're going to be bringing here to
Crazy.
the U.S. And it's cool because, for us, that's like one of the other lines we're unveiling here is the Explorer line, which I think traditionally a lot of the shops that deal with us have that struggle where they're like, okay, we have your lights, they're great, we swear by them, but sometimes the customer comes in, it's just too expensive. So now we have a middle shelf entry level product that has that quality level and expectation of when they see a Vision X product, but it's got a more affordable price tag associated to it. Doesn't need all the crazy features to survive negative 30 degrees.
Correct.
For 100 hours at a time or whatever, but it's going to be more than suitable for putting on your side by side or your Bronco or your Jeep and
Fit for purpose.
Yeah, right. So and then just integration now we have things like on the Denali side, they have a CAN bus controller.
Yeah, what's the story about that?
Yeah, it's a really cool product. So basically, the team there developed that. So basically, what they do is they sell a whole suite of products. So it's not just, hey, here's your lights. It's the lights with the vehicle-specific mounts, with the vehicle-specific wiring harness, and you have a controller that's specific for your vehicle that when you plug it in and attach it to the CAN bus, you can program it so, hey, I turn on the brights on the motorcycle, it actually turns on the driving lights. When I use the turn signals, the ambers on these ones flash. So it's this easy integration, and that's what's really made that brand big. And obviously, when I was at Project X, that's one of the things that we were developing there was full suite, right?
Yes.
Wiring harness mounts, vehicle specific, easy to make a 12-volt installation because, you can go into a shop and be like, hey, I want my manifold changed, I want to put a new set of heads on. You're an off-road shop, I want to swap out my axles, I want to put a suspension kit on. Easy, done. As soon as you're like, attach these two wires together and solder it or splice this, and they're like, done, send it to a wiring shop. That's wizardry.
Yes.
I don't know how to do it, and if they do it, they mess it up.
Warranty or anything.
I always say it's like the perfect example is like any of these shops you go to. You ever walk in a hot rod shop and they're like, "This is my body and paint guy. This is the fab guy that does all the welding. This guy does our drivetrain." And then there's that dude that does our wiring, and they always look at that guy like he's Jesus.
Yes.
They have no idea what he does, or how he operates. Like they think he's weird, but they're just like, just let him do what he does.
Let him do his thing.
And even as the almost like caricature of it is, you think of like Galpin Autosports, you think of Mad Mike, with his wires hanging out, it's just like, they're like, that guy's crazy, But every shop has that, and it's gotten different to the point now where it's like, you look at a lot of these shops and they're just like, we just send that to a guy that just does wiring now, because we don't even know.
Yes.
And so how do you overcome that on a consumer side? If a shop can't do it and you're a manufacturer and you're like, how do you, as like we talked about that earlier, the market's changing, like selling on TikTok or something, like how do you sell a set of lights to someone that they can't wire it because it's so complicated? And like, if you're like, take a random example, not necessarily accurate, but could be like, let's say you buy, your F-150 truck and you're like, I want to put the lights on, so I buy lights from a manufacturer. They may not have an application-specific mount, but this other shop, this other vendor, they do make a mount for it, so I'm going to buy a mount from them. I need a controller now because I don't want to drill my dash. I'm going to go to one of the companies that makes a controller. I'm going to buy that because this is the first 12-volt product I want. I'm going to do that. Maybe the upfitter switches won't work, but whatever. Then that upfitter switch maybe doesn't have an application-specific mount for yours. So you're going to like SDHQ or something and buy your Switch Pro's mount, right?
Yes.
And then you're like, okay, now I need to wire it. So they might not have a harness. They're not going to have a harness that goes from my lights to the Switch Pros or everything. So I'm probably going to pay someone, or maybe someone makes it. And now you're at 5 vendors.
Think about it.
5 to install a pair of lights. Madness, right?
It's crazy.
Up to, and you might get away with 2 to 3, but still, like the concept of like to use your product, you have to involve up to 4 other transactions.
It's mad.
So it's really like, and my explanation to the team here is it reminds me of like the 30 years ago integration of change from the exhaust business for selling universal mufflers to when they were like, hey, we should make full catback kits.
Yeah.
And that changed the industry. Now everybody does that.
So true.
But it's like taken us so long to be like, can we just get this going on
vehicle specific,
lighting kits with wiring harnesses and ready to go? Because it's for some reason it's not there. You get like 2/3 of the way and it stops. You know.
You know what's hilarious you say that, because in 5 years' time we're gonna look back and go, wow, lights used to just be universal,
Yeah.
like exhaust.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're gonna look back and go, oh, everything's plug and play now. How silly have we been all this time?
Yeah, it's like I always say, it's like if I want to buy a lamp for my house, I don't need to add a new breaker into the fuse box and pull wire through the conduit.
out.
You know, like
Keep the lights
even
on.
from a vehicle manufacturer standpoint, they're getting better at it. Like the upfitter switch stuff works good, but it just doesn't work all the way for what a lot of people need. Because like, let's say you buy a Bronco, it's got an upfitter switch, and they're great, but it's not multifunction, right? It's on off. You don't have any flash or dim or anything. They only work when the vehicle's on, and a lot of times for like the accessories that you're running, they don't the ampage on those circuits isn't high enough. You know, because you have like 130 amp, you know, like a 25 amp, a 15, and like 3 5s or something. So you're seeing like this interesting thing where manufacturers for 12 volt products are starting to like change how they do it, where it's like, okay, we're going to have constant power going directly to the battery, and then a trigger wire going off, so you can do that. But it's still multifunction, and it still doesn't work that way. You know, it's a semi fix, but it's not giving the customer what they need, right?
Yes.
Just it's fascinating.
It's like the old school amplifiers where, like you said, they'd always have full-time power, and then they'd run the remote wire to turn it on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I guess, I don't know, in closing, I'd love for you to kind of maybe share, I don't know, something that, I know that you like the Baja, you know, or the Baja, or the off-road, so the trophy truck situations. Maybe share a little insight into one thing that you look forward to, of course, other than SEMA.
Yeah.
You know, because SEMA is always like amazing. Something other than SEMA that you would say to a first timer, going, hey man, you got to go and watch these big trucks launch 10 feet in the air and do something crazy.
I would say, like, you know, from an off-road standpoint, I think there's 2 events that I look forward to every year. The first one's King of the Hammers.
Okay.
Because if you've never been to King of the Hammers, it's like Burning Man for off-road, right? And you have like 60, it's 3 weeks now, because you have like King of the Motos plus King of the Hammers, and it's like the, you know, first round of trucks, you have 6,100 trophy trucks blasting through the desert. You know, the next week you have UTVs, and then you have Ultra 4 trucks, and the Ultra 4 trucks are like going almost as fast as the 6,100 trucks, but then they're also going up over rocks that are just like, you look at it, and as like, if you're new to off-road, you see this, like, there's no way someone's driving up that, and you see it, and it's actually like mind-boggling, right? But it's just like, there's so many people there. That lake bed like just transforms to like nothing. You know, for us, it's like our stomping grounds out there. We go out there all the time, and it's like there's no one ever there, and all of a sudden there's like 250,000 people there. You know, like mind-blowing, crazy. So if you've never done that, that's definitely something to experience. And that's like the big one, right? Like that's the big one that for us within the continental U.S., you want to go and see that and experience that for the pure madness, and especially for nighttime driving. You go out there at night, and that party's going all night long. It is massive. But then I also like the smaller events. Like I love going to Easter Jeep Safari.
Oh.
You know, because like that's smaller in the ways, like there's a vendor show, but there's nothing, you know, there's not a ton of people there. That's not a business thing. I go there to sell stuff. I go there to get content, and I go there to hang with other industry people, and I go there to like remember why we do what we do, you know. And I guess if there's, you know, a good point in that, and if this is your career, like remember why you do it. Don't make it too much of your job, because if it becomes too much of your job and you lose your passion for it, then it's just a job. Like we all have to go out and have fun, and we all have to go out and like remember why we do this, because if you don't do it, you stop innovating. Sure. You know, you stop caring about your business, stop caring about customers. Like you have to be involved. I always say, like, be involved and don't operate in a bubble. Yep. You know, and if you're going to do that, you have to go out and be involved. You know, you guys do the same thing with the shows and events and the series you sponsor. Like if you're not there, you're not doing anything.
I totally agree. So what was the name again of that second show? So I can
Easter Jeep Safari.
Easter Jeep Safari. Sorry, bro.
In Moab. Yeah.
In Moab. All right, cool. Because like I said, everyone keeps talking about how amazing King of the Hammers is.
Yep.
I think it's the start of that, where the UTVs or something, they're going up this killer hill, right? Is that the first?
That changes every year.
Oh, okay.
There's so the Hammers is the name of the obstacles there,
yes.
right? So there's like Thor's hammer and blah blah blah.
Oh, that's cool.
So, but every year the track gets modified in some way. So they might go up one or down one, but it always starts and ends at the short course right there. And there is, you know, Turkey Claw or whatever there, and it just depending how they route the track, but it's crazy.
Because all I remember is someone sharing a post on Facebook where all these cars are just starting off the line, like thousands of them, like little ants, and they're trying to get up this hill.
Yeah.
And some going right, some going left, some got stuck, some went ahead. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Well, okay, guys, there you have it. 2 of their favorite shows. I guarantee you I'll definitely be making my way out to one of them. I'd love to go to the Moab one, but I'm not sure if Easter, it might be hard to get there, but see what happens. I'll get Jared to pick me up and I'll go with him. But
jump in the car, we're going.
Jump
in the car, we're going hammering, loser.
Let's go, let's go. So again, thank you so much. I am so curious to hear these one-liners. Mine was very simple. I'm cheating because I say it every time, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, do it together. Let's hear one of you.
What's one of those famous ones? Like every wise man started by asking a great many questions.
Right?
So I always just say, if like, you know, you don't always act like you have all the answers. Even when I think I'm the expert in something, I try and play myself a little stupid and act and see what's going on, because I just never know what you're going to learn. Like, don't stop learning. If you go somewhere in your situation in your career where you're not learning anything, go somewhere else. Like, that's the biggest thing I can say. If you want to grow yourself professionally, if you stop learning where you're at, if you can't find someone else to mentor you through a SEMA program, SEMA has a lot of educational programs, things you can do to better yourself. Like, go out and learn, because if you're not learning, you're not growing.
I love that. And what was the other one-liner? If you're
through learning, you're through.
Yeah, that's it. I'm taking that one to the bank for sure. So again, cheers to Jared. Again, thank you, man. Thank you so much for coming. We'll do it again all the time next year. Thank you, boys and girls.